Good morning, Math 3 students. This is, oh balls. This is your week 6, lesson 3. Yeah, production value is real bad. Okay, you know what, guys? I am real tired of this. I don't know if y'all are tired, but mama is tired. Okay, week 6, lesson 3. Here we go. This is all about reciprocal linear trig equations. It says functions. We're going to solve some equations, though. That's what we're doing. So, just a quick reminder that sine and cosecant are reciprocals of each other. Cosine and secant are reciprocals of each other. And tangent and cotangent are reciprocals of each other. And so, just a reminder, in our coordinate plane, in quadrant 1, all 6 trig functions are positive. All of the ratios are positive. Over in quadrant 2, sine, the y, that's the only one that's positive. But so is cosecant then, because it's just a reciprocal flipped upside down. It still has the same positive value. The same positive sign, S-I-G-N anyway. Quadrant 3, tangent is the only positive ratio down there, but cotangent is also positive because it uses the same y and x and has a positive ratio. Cosine is the only positive one in quadrant 4, but so is secant. Since it uses the same hypotenuse and x value, it is also positive. So here in example 1, what do we do when we're trying to solve an equation that has one of these reciprocal trig ratios in it? Well, 3 times cosecant of theta plus 4 equals 0. So we're going to start by isolating the trig function by subtracting 4 from both sides. So 3 times the cosine of theta is equal to negative 4. Well, to finish isolating cosine, let's divide by 3 off of both sides. Oh, excuse me, this is cosecant. Cosecant. Oof. All right, so cosecant of theta is equal to negative 4/3. That's what we got out of this backwards order of operations. So typically here is where we would use an inverse trig function on the calculator, but we don't have a cosecant button. We don't have an inverse cosecant either. So what we need to do is go from cosecant to its reciprocal. So we're going to change this to say, okay, sine of theta is equal to, yes, it's negative, still negative, but now the 3 will be on top and the 4 will be on bottom. So we're just going to transition to its reciprocal so that we can use the calculator. So sine of theta is negative 3/4. So we need to run inverse sine of negative 3/4. And that is about negative 48.6 degrees. The problem with that value is that Delta Math will require us to put it between 0 and 360. So negative 48.6 is down here in quadrant 4. So if we want to find the correct value between 0 and 360, we can take 360 minus 48.6, or 360 plus the negative 48.6. Either way, we need to get this thing down to 311.4 degrees. That is our first positive angle. That's our first positive solution here. So where's the other one? Well, we're dealing with sine, and we were down in quadrant 4 where sine is negative. The other place for sine to be negative is in quadrant 3. So we need to reflect that right over the y-axis. So that negative 48.6, that was this angle here. Well, that same value gets flipped over the y-axis. So what we need now is 180 plus 48.6. Sorry. 180 plus 48.6. And this is 228.6 degrees. So if we need to check these out, we're going to have to use sine. Sine of 311.4 gets us approximately negative 0.75, negative 3/4. And we can do the same with sine of 228.6. Same exact ratio. Okay. So if that's enough for you, you can head on over to Delta Math right now. Otherwise, we're going to do one more practice problem. So example 1 here, we have 4 times the secant of theta plus 4 equals 0. So we'll start by isolating the trig function. So 4 times the secant of theta is equal to negative 4. And next up, we'll divide by 4 to finish isolating. And this leaves me with secant of theta equals -1. Okay, so that's a whole number. If it helps, treat it as a fraction. Drop a 1 underneath it to help us out. So what happens then is that we need to convert secant into its reciprocal. So secant and cosine go together. So this is going to transition into cosine of theta, and we need to flip the fraction upside down. So yes, it's still negative, and then the bottom will come up and the top will go down. So as it turns out, the reciprocal of -1 is still -1. So cosine of theta equals -1. So if we go to our calculator, use inverse cosine of -1, or perhaps you already know what this one is, it comes out to be 180 degrees. 180 degrees. Well, the reason for that is because at that location, x, the cosine value, is -1, right on the negative x-axis. Is there any other place where the x value will ever be -1? Well, if we're thinking about the unit circle, that's the only time it gets out there. This is the one and only solution. It's the only place where cosine has a ratio of -1. So for this problem, there actually is not a second solution. But for the majority of the problems where it's not a specialty value like -1 or +1, you're going to have two answers. So be sure on Delta Math to use a comma between your two values. That's what will allow you to enter multiple solutions. Head on over to Delta Math, practice those problems, reach out to me with any questions you have, and good luck out there.